Yeah, so it's a great story because while Bradley Cooper was working on this movie, he showed a scene to a little known man by the name of Steven Spielberg while he was looking for someone to direct this project that he was producing called Maestro. And the story that Cooper tells is that right after he saw the shallow scene that Cooper showed to him before the movie was finished, Steven Spielberg said, "You're directing Maestro, dude." And now that's what we have with this movie that we're reviewing. It's of course based on the life of Leonard Bernstein, and especially through the perspective of his marriage with Felicia Montelegre, who's played by the wonderful Carey Mulligan. And I'll just start off by saying, if we were talking about the great visuals and directing styles in A Star Is Born, I think this one is such a visual treat. It's such a marvel to look at, especially with the cinematography. You have the similar to another movie this year, Poor Things. You have like you start in black and white and then you eventually go into color. And there's some shots that I think are amazing in this film. And I think he did such a great job directing, but also just diving into physically into Leonard Bernstein's performance. We were just talking about famous people. And wow, him as Bernstein is so transformative and commanding. What do you guys think of this movie overall, first to start off?
Yeah, you know what? I'll be honest, completely. I did not like this movie. I respect Bradley's performance and Carey Mulligan. I think they were great as the characters that they were portraying on screen. I like the technical. Again, it's the same cinematographer as A Star Is Born, Matthew Libatique, and I loved it. The transitions, the way the movie is shot, beautiful. But the reason why I didn't like this film, and something that I went in depth in my review, is I personally didn't know too much about Leonard Bernstein walking into this movie. I've heard of the name. I couldn't name you a single one of his songs or anything he composed or anything of the sorts. And walking out, I still can't. I feel like, and to me, that's how I kind of view a biopic: is did I learn more about the person watching a movie after, before going in? And of course, there's creative liberties in all biopics, so I get that. But I just found that we were plopped into three different timestamps in this couple's life. And it was just like a general story about, I feel like, any couple who's just famous. I didn't understand the trials and tribulations that Bernstein really had to go through the same way other biopics have shown. And I don't know, I couldn't connect with it. And I was so disappointed because this is one of my most anticipated movies of the year, especially because I'm like, oh, it's after Star Is Born, it's Bradley Cooper. Like, of course, I think he's going to get nominated for an Oscar. Carey Mulligan might even win it. I think there's a lot of great things going for it. But as a story of Leonard Bernstein, I can't tell you anything more I know about this character than I knew about this person after this movie than I maybe knew before. So I think I was a little let down at that point.
Ben, any thoughts?
Yeah, so again, as you said, I thought the cinematography and the production value is really very good. The like just before the like color switch, is like it feels like an old movie at the very like a really old. It's like it's not just black and white. It feels like an old movie, and then when it changes to color, then you're like, okay, this is feeling like a modern movie now. I can actually kind of agree in a way that it's a little bit more not kind of personalized to Bernstein. It's like if you could put any. Yeah, I actually agree. You could put any famous couple there, and it would be a similar kind of feel. I didn't think of that, but when you said it, I was like, yeah, it's not really like personal to him. But something I really enjoyed about his performance. I thought was great. I loved the scenes of him conducting. It feels like awesome to watch him. He's getting very into it, and the music is great as well. But I do agree that maybe the execution of the like showing the life of Bernstein could have been a little bit better to make it a little bit more personalized.
I will say I do agree in the sense that if you want to do research about Bernstein and find out about his accomplishments, the movie definitely could have done a better job of highlighting that. And as a romance, it's sometimes a little uneven and vague, but I think what really elevated for this movie for me was the directorial energy. The dialogue, first of all, is like really quippy. It feels almost like Mank in that way of like people are talking in a really like witty, old-fashioned way. And again, the production value, the way sort of like they're sort of like leaping out of their one setting and going into another. And that's one thing that really elevated it for me. I think maybe even with the same script in another director's hands, I could have been like, this is kind of mediocre. But I do think there are a lot of strong aspects that that did elevate the movie for me and made me say that I really liked it. Even though I don't think I'd put it as a favorite of the year for mine, perhaps an honorable mention. We'll see when I end up making my list. But I totally agree. The overall execution of the story is a little uneven, especially with Leonard as a person and sort of like how his marriage starts to like face its tribulations. But it's also this really interesting film about a guy who's like whose consumption for his destiny to like change music, which we know that Bernstein did, is definitely also like hiding a lot of the insecurities that he has about himself. And I just think again, Cooper is so commanding in this movie. Not only his voice, but his whole body. He's putting so much. There's that whole cathedral scene that his mouth is sort of like a character in this in this thing because he's just going all out. And then I watched the actual video of Bernstein conducting there, and I think it was the 70s. I'm not sure. And it looks uncanny. The makeup team, I think, deserves a huge shout out. And again, Mulligan, she can't miss. Carey Mulligan cannot miss when it comes to performances. Personally, I was rooting for her to like even win an Oscar when she did Promising Young Woman, but she's always so commanding and human to her. And here she reveals so much about her character and her overall like her ambitions and her mystery that I overall thought the dynamic between them was terrific. Even though I definitely wouldn't rank it over A Star Is Born, I still think it's a pretty strong outing from Mr. Cooper.
Yeah, you're never gonna bat 100%, and it's one of those things where I think there was a lot of great things that you can see that he learned from A Star Is Born, and he applied it to this. I think the thing that I kind of got lost in is I think the transformation is so something that everyone talks about. Oh, this guy became Leonard Bernstein, where I think we sometimes focus, and I think even Bradley focused too much on becoming Leonard Bernstein rather than showing the audience a story about this character. It's more so like a physical transformation, I found. But again, like I thought he was great in it. I thought his acting was great in it. It's just I just couldn't connect with Lenny in the movie. And I don't know if you guys booked this, but like when I was watching it, even just like I guess spoiler alert, like even the ending of the movie, it's like almost the carbon copy of A Star Is Born's ending, where they have that looking right into the camera. Yeah, and it's like you end up with Carey Mulligan's face at the end of the movie, the same way Lady Gaga staring into the camera. And it's literally carbon copy of it, right? So I think he kind of falls in love with a lot of different shots of his. That's what I noticed in this movie.
What I will say is, all I'll say is, I do think like definitely in that way, it does often focus more on like Bernstein as a lover than it does as Bernstein as an artist. But that's why I do think I could have used some more about his accomplishments and like a little more impersonal. But again, there's so much about it that elevated it beyond some of the glaring flaws for me. So I did overall really like it.
So like I wouldn't call it a like the I think the biggest problem with this movie is it's like it is just a romance movie with these two characters. Rather, it's not about Bernstein. It's a romance movie with Bernstein. It's not. It's like so. It's not really like a normal biopic. It's more of a like generic romance movie than a biopic.
Yeah, I see where you're going with that, Ben. For sure, it's.
I definitely understand, even though I wouldn't say generic in that way.
Not like generic, but it doesn't work the same as like a normal biopic work going through their like performances in their lives. Rather, it's just going through his romance life. And as you said, like if you want to learn about his professional career, this movie doesn't really give you that.
Well, to move on, I guess, into our next segment is something we may agree a little more on, which is this movie's Oscars chances. So we're recording this on January 1st. So we have 23 days until the nominations come out. And so in terms of like best picture, it seems like it's getting into a lot of the categories like Golden Globes and Critics' Choice. And though I do think, as opposed to some of the other movies, it does feel a little too like emotionally distant in that way in some ways for me to see it as a winner. But I do think just in terms of like how well it's doing now, I definitely see it getting nominated. Carey Mulligan, I think, is probably a lock as well. Here, let's start with that first. Is Best Actress for Carey Mulligan? Where do we think she stands?
I think she's behind Emma Stone. I don't know if she's the front runner. It depends, but I think Emma Stone is probably the lead in that. But she's definitely nominated, that for sure.
I agree, nominated, but I don't think she's the favorite.
I don't think she's gonna win just because there are two hard hitters, which is Emma Stone in Poor Things, like you said, and then Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon, which I think many would argue is like the heaviest dramatic performance of the year. And I could see the two of them winning for now. I feel like if Carey Mulligan started winning, it would be a bit of like a dark horse. But we'll have to see. I think Bradley Cooper, though, could honestly win Best Actor. And I would not be surprised because, you know, they love their physical transformations. They love the heavy makeup. And they love biopics. But, you know, if he gets nominated for this and for picture and maybe even writing, like he'll be nominated around a dozen times by the time this movie comes out. And I feel like now with this movie, they're going to start itching to want to give him his due, the Academy voters. So a lot of the time there is like a long time coming characteristic when it comes to Oscar voting. But I do think Cooper is for sure a front runner for Best Actor. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Gal, I think this is another year where Cooper is gonna finish runner-up, man. I think he's running into the DiCaprio thing where every time he had an amazing performance, there was someone else who had a performance of a lifetime. And I think this year, I think it's a lock. I think Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer. I think Christopher Nolan just made his gold, like, you know, masterpiece. And I think this is the year where Nolan's gonna take it. And I think Cillian Murphy, you can't deny. Talking about biopics, I think it's going to be hard to deny Cillian Murphy and what he did with that movie and just the cultural, you know, phenomenon that became. So I think he's going to get nominated. Absolutely. He's an Oscar darling and rightfully so. I think he's a great actor and creative, but he's just running into a brick wall of Oppenheimer this year.
You mentioned Leo, and Leo like eventually won his actor. You know, like every dog has his day where it finally happens. It's not today. I also think that Cillian Murphy will take best actor this year, and Cooper will have to wait for his day to come again.
Interesting. Well, we'll have to see because I feel like I think we'll get a little more clarity on that once Golden Globe Awards happen, once the Critics' Choice Awards happen, because they're, I guess, pitted against each other. I don't think there's one right now where we can say, like, oh, for sure they're going to win. I have a hunch, though, that it may actually be Cooper's time, but we'll have to see. Like, I don't think he has a shot in winning picture or writing. What I have is this movie getting nominated for picture, actor, cinematography, makeup, um, film editing, and an actress. But I think also there's a correlation between an acting winner and whoever wins makeup at the Oscars, which is an interesting correlation. So either Oppenheimer wins them both or Maestro wins them both. I do have Oppenheimer winning in more categories than Maestro either, but I definitely think actor and makeup are up for grabs for either of those films right now.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. That's a good point.
I think that if Bradley Cooper manages to win Best Actor, then this Oscars this year will be the greatest heist movie of all time.
I wouldn't say it's that unlikely, but
I'm putting quite a bit of. I do feel that Cillian will win this year.
Yeah. You know what?
I do think this movie deserves makeup, because the makeup in this movie is like insane. The like aging is great, but I don't know about actor.
You know what? One thing I'll say, Ben, is I agree with you a lot in a lot of the things you were saying. I think Bradley's not even the runner-up or even the third place. I think he gets nominated. I think Coleman Domingo, Paul Giamatti, there's a lot of killers this year in that acting category.
Yeah.
And again, I think that Cillian's just think this is his year. I think just the way everything happened with Oppenheimer and just this being Nolan's like masterpiece almost. I think he's just gonna run into that brick wall again. And sadly, I think he is gonna get his Oscar one day, and it may not even be for acting. I think he may get it for directing or producing, but I just don't think this is the year. It's too many heavy hitters this year.
So yeah, Tallal, you're definitely right. I'm a lot more convinced that Cooper has a good chance at winning the gold than you are. But that's not to denigrate Cillian Murphy's fantastic work in Oppenheimer. That's honestly just a testament to how interesting the race will be, and we'll have to see once it plays out. We'll definitely get a lot of more context once the Golden Globes and the Critics' Choice Awards happen. But like you said, there's going to be some hard hitters. I think Best Actor this year is more stacked because we have Bradley Cooper, Cillian Murphy, Coleman Domingo, Paul Giamatti, Jeffrey Wright, and
DiCaprio is in there.
and Leonardo DiCaprio, right, for Killers of the Flower Moon. That's what I was trying to say. Vying for those 5 Best Actor nomination spots. Although I do think Cooper is at least a lock to get nominated for Best Actor. I think we all agree there. So that concludes our actors show reel for Mr. Bradley Cooper, who again is having one hell of a year, as he often is. So Ben, thank you once again for joining me as our guest host here on the Feature Fanatics. And Tallal, thank you for being such an awesome guest. Tell the viewers where we can find you on social media, YouTube, Instagram, so on.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me today, guys. Gal, Ben, pleasure being here with you guys. You guys can find me on Instagram at Tallal Azim. And you can find me on YouTube either by searching Popcorn and Soda, or my handle there as well, which is at Tallal Azim as well. And yeah, come check out some of the things that I've been up to. And I had a blast with you guys today. I really look forward to being back on the show and discussing some more films.
Absolutely. And thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for some more content. Oscar related, best of the year related, movie reviews, director spotlights, actor show reels, and so on. I've been Gal, and thank you for watching.